right? It's a huge job what you're doing. So I mean, it's one of those kids don't try this at home type things, right?
Like everything lined up perfect. The heater channels lined up to the body. The floor pans lined up to the existing floor pans. I checked online. It all matched up to be the same, but now that it's together, nothing is the same. I don't know what to say, guys. I'm not sure what to say about the pans right now. All signs are pointing to it's the wrong pans and I fucked up. Is there any difference in width between the 74 Super Beetle pans and the pans I ordered?
No, there's no such thing as a Super Beetle pan.
I remember a couple months ago reading a Facebook Marketplace ad, and it was exactly as this goes. I'm halfway through the project. The bolt holes don't line up to the heater channels anymore from the floor pans. I'm selling it. My loss, your gain. and I giggled. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a long road, but we're quickly getting after it, and the 74, the floor pans are getting replaced today. As you can see here, all the holes in the floor pan are rotted out, and it's starting to fade away pretty fast. So this is the driver's side, and it definitely needs to be replaced. And the passenger side is doing the exact same thing, slowly rotting out. I've just caught it before it got too bad, that's all. But definitely needs to be replaced. We're gonna cut these out today. Using your good eye. Well, if I don't use these, then I gotta spend another $1,000, which seems silly because I already have these, so let's just put them in. I've been debating for a minute about the seats that I want to put in this, which the seats then determine the floor pans I'm going to use, but it seems silly. I already have the other floor pans, so I'm just going to jump in and throw those floor pans that I already have right there into this car. They're for basically a 69 to 71, and this is a 74, so it's got a different seat in it, but those seats are easier to source, easier to find than those ones. So I'm going to just swap the two of them out. Removing these, you got to be very careful, very meticulous. There's little ledges around the tunnel and the front top hat that can't be touched, so we're going to stay about an inch out, sawzall the whole thing out, and then chisel out the remainder type thing so that we can get that lip accessible and cleaned up, and then the new floor pan sits on that lip to kind of give you an idea where everything should be. I'm gonna do measurements off the tunnel, off the front and the back. That way when I go to weld on the new pans, I'm sure, that way I know that everything's lining up properly. Just gonna draw a quick kind of map for myself. That way when we go to put the new pans on, nothing's in the wrong spot. I said to myself, this should be fairly simple, so I kind of threw this to the side. One side cut off just quickly. We just have to make it sound so simple, but go around the outside and clean off the existing pan that we left so that we have that little ledge to put the new floor pan onto. But Dad's just going around and trying to see where they've welded it in. They've welded it like every inch, you'd say. And then we just got to go around and grind all those, which there's a lot of welds every inch, like 30 welds. And then they've also put seam sealer along the whole edge, so we've got to go along and cut the seam sealer out before we can grind it all off. Seam sealer did not do its job because everything's still rusted, so it's a painstaking process. So we can get that section of the pan kind of fitted up and make sure we're gonna fit, but essentially we just got to clean this edge up a little bit nicer, and then that pan can get set on this side. We'll double check our hole measurements, we'll tack it on, and then we'll get started on the other side. We just got to cut it off, rinse and repeat on the left side now, and clean everything up as we go, and then weld it all back together. The time consuming spot is all these little welds. You've got to grind down every little weld nicely so that you can expose this little channel, because you don't want your new pan sitting on any garbage along that channel, and this channel helps you align the new pan as you put it on. So get that channel nice and clean, and then you can set the new pan on top of it, do your measurements, make sure it's in alignment, and then tack it on. Everything's in place for the pan. We're just throwing a couple tacks on it now and get it kind of locked in position before we move on to the other side, or I start cutting out the other side. At least we'll have the one side locked in. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's still gonna match up to the body. Never really know until we're done, I guess. So another tack on the rear. After how many hours of cleaning up that ledge? How many hours did we do? Probably 2 hours, 3 hours of just cleaning up the ledge, right? So we're, oh, what time did we start at? Look
at the difference.
We're 5 hours into one side.
Look at this.
It's beautiful compared to the, like I told you, I feel like you could stand on this side already.
Yeah. And
the other side, I feel, would just rip right off. So it's gonna be stronger.
I'm just gonna tack it here.
Okay. Huge difference. We got it all welded in. She's pretty in there now. I don't think it's gonna move, but huge difference. This side is super sturdy, the other side feels very punky, so huge difference. Plus now I have a jack mount. Now I have a jack mount. Bonus. Anyways, this side looks really good, so dance. Dance.
I don't know how you actually say it.
It's probably not, I'm probably not saying it correctly because I'm not German or something, but Dansk. It's probably Dansk. Alright, so we're basically all done the one side. We've got it all welded up, and we're gonna move on to the opposite side. Not all done this side, but done enough to move on for now. So yeah, rinse and repeat. We'll kind of just keep cleaning up that one side, expose all the welds. We've got to grind them off, cut it out. Same thing, different side.
At this point, I realized something wasn't lining up correctly.
There's no way.
It was getting pretty late, we were getting tired, and nothing really seemed right.
There's no way. It is what it is, I guess. Figured out what we're like an inch out on the heater channel compared to the body.
3/4.
Yeah, so when we line up
3/8 and 3/8.
when we line up the heater channel with the floor pan, based on these bolts up here, the bolts on the heater chan don't exactly match the pan. And everything's straight, everything's beautiful. It's just like everything was going so good. So good. Too good.
Too good.
It is what it is. So if we have to, we'll just grind these out. Like I said, all the research I've done has pointed towards this should work. So, and then like all the measurements we did, everything. So I'll have to call, obviously I'll jump on Google again and see what I can find, but not sure what to say about the pans right now. All signs are pointing to it's the wrong pans, and I fucked up. Yeah, this could have been avoided had I have listened to my instincts and said, draw the map and make sure the measurement off the tunnel to the hole is good front and back. but I didn't draw the map because we test fitted everything. We put the new pan on top of the old pan, all the bolts lined up. The heater channels we lined up before. You know, visually everything worked, but it's like a ½ inch out now all over the place, and visually I fucked up. All the research I did online, everything pointed to it's gonna work. I went on the Samba, I went on so many different, and everybody said no, same pan, the only thing different is the seat. No, I think there's something different, so I got to get down to the bottom of this. But I'm pretty sure if I just call CIP1 and ask them straight up, you know, is the 74 Super Beetle, is it wider than the 69? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure something's telling me in 74, 73 they widened it by like 1.5 inches, but I don't know. I'm tired. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I was excited. I was gonna spend, you know, till like midnight welding that in, getting it all, but it doesn't line up. So yeah.
Everybody I talked to, the internet, everybody, CIP1, everybody said these pans would work in this car. But at this point, I was really starting to think that they wouldn't. So my next step would be to call CIP1 and talk to the guys who do this stuff on a daily basis.
The moment of truth. It's Monday morning. I've stressed out most of the weekend, but all the research I can find online says that all the pans are roughly the same. The only difference is the seat bracket. That's what CIP told me originally, but I'm gonna call and see if they can at least give me some insight. This order was $1,700 bucks. That's just one of the orders.
Online at CIP1.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks.
Actually calling about some floor pans I'm attempting to install. Is there any difference in width between the 74 Super Beetle pans and the pans I ordered?
No, there's no such thing as a Super Beetle pan.
Okay.
The difference is in the heater channels. The heater channels for Super Beetle are different. They made those cars in standard version all the way to 77. So
okay.
it's the same floor pan.
The heater channels that I bought from you guys and the floor pans I bought from you guys, they don't marry up properly right now. The jack posts are in the way.
The jack posts are usually underneath the floor pan, no?
They're sitting above. I believe they're mounted below, but they're sitting above so the heater channel actually hits them. In my head, I should be able to cut those jack posts off and this should work, but I am just running into some alignment issues between the channels and the pans. That's probably just me.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just the way that the panel's sitting in the car. I mean, it's always a good idea to either align the heater channel with the old pan before you cut both out, or align the old pan half with the new pan half with the old channel before you cut them out.
I did. I lined up everything and everything worked out of the car, but now that I've got the pans, tacked in, and I put the heater channels on top just to see, okay, is everything gonna work? And it's, obviously I'm hitting the jack posts, so they'll have to be just nipped off. But it just seems like it's a little bit out of alignment. I'm reading online that some people have to drill holes and kind of make it work, but I just want to make sure I'm not.
Sometimes you have to open up the holes in the floor pan to align to get the bolts in or whatever. That's pretty straightforward.
Okay, all right. So as long as I know it's me that's kind of.
If that's all you need to do, if that's all you need to do, then you should be okay.
All right. Yeah, the big deal is where the angle is, just where the A-pillar is.
Yep. Essentially,
the big deal's there. I'm like a ½ inch out on 2 bolts, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I just wanted to call and confirm with you guys that, I'm not bastardizing the car. You know what I mean? Like, these parts should work.
Nope.
All right, so...
You're right. It's a huge job what you're doing. So, I mean, it's definitely... it's one of those kids don't try this at home type things, right?
Right. Okay.
There you go.
All right, well, I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it. I've been stressing all weekend.
No worries.
All right. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
No difference in pans between the, that's good news. No difference in pans between the 69, 71 outside and the 74. They didn't make special floor pans just for the Super Beetles. All the pans are universal, but the seat brackets are different when it comes to the pans. The only thing that's going to be different are the heater channels, but they still should line up, they still should marry. The difference is, for me, the jack posts, and I'm assuming these pans are just a little crooked, so I might cut them out, try and square them off just a little bit better, and then align these heater channels before I tack them in this time, and yeah, we're good. That's nice. Okay, so it should work. I just gotta cut them out. It's a little bit of a nightmare, but I mean, at the end of the day, at least it's gonna work. So let's just get it done. What's up, guys? It's been a busy week for me. I just got finished filming at a snowmobile race. I'm heading home now to lift the Beetle up and see what I can do about those floor pans, see what's going on, and actually get a good look at it. Because it's been such a busy week, really haven't had the opportunity to do that. So today's the day, and I'm pretty excited. So I'm flying home right now, and we're gonna tear it apart.
The plan was simple. Undo half of what we did and fix it. Obviously, the pans are a bit crooked, so we just needed to straighten them. It sounds pretty easy, but of course it's a lot of work.
Here it comes.
Fuck off. That was so much faster with you.
Ready?
It was so much faster with somebody. The wiggle goes so much better with somebody else. Yeah, so we decided to take the motor out because instead of ripping the floor pans out right now, just getting ahead of ourselves and cutting them out, we're going to lift the body back up, slide this back underneath it, and see how far we're out. And to make it easier on ourselves, this has to come out anyways. So if we take that out now, then we don't have to lift the car up half as high to slide that under, because we still got floor pan problems, which we're not quite sure. But I mean, the last time we looked at it, we were tired, and it sounds like it's a mess, but it's not. I don't think it's that far out. So but we knew there was going to be some hidden problems. So I say, yeah, just it can sit there for a bit, and then back to this.
After mocking up the heater channels, we found out, yes, we were about a ½ inch out on both sides at the A pillar. So we got to grinding all the welds off the pans to be able to reposition them correctly.
Double check our measurements width-wise. Might as well measure it 9 times and tack once on this one.
With our measurements properly done, now we were able to finally get the driver's side pan in its final resting spot and tack it in there.
We have cut out the driver's side and repositioned it and tacked it back in place. We measured it off the heater channel. I'll explain that in a minute. And then we've also got to cut out this passenger side, but as you can see, it's going to be a lot harder because it is welded in everywhere. We went a little bit bananas. We thought it was good. And then like up here, for example, it's just got to be cut so many times. So this is going to be very time consuming getting this side out, but we've only got to peel it up to here type thing, and then we can pull the front out just a touch to match the heater channel. So bit of a nightmare, but now I understand it quite a bit, so positive side to everything.
The absolute worst part about making this mistake was welding the passenger side pan so much before double checking our hole locations on the heater channels.
literally just gonna work. So
Gas on. Okay.
yep. Take your time.
Okay. I'm not getting it ground. Is that what's off?
This would explain why.
I'm like, I just press the trigger a little bit more. It'll ground. It'll do it.
With the heater channel mocked up in
Okay.
place, bolts through the top hat and pan, all the measurements correct, we got the passenger
Okay.
side
Yep.
finally welded back in the car.
We've decided we're just going to lift it back up and try and put the pan underneath it to see if we can actually get it to line up before we tack it a million times like we did last time and cause more trouble. So this way here we can just lift this up, slide that under, and see how close it actually is. Sounds real easy, but
Although the heater channels on the body are rotten and we have not replaced them, aligning the car with the pan as a test is a great indication if your holes are even close to lining up.
Oh yeah.
yeah, you positive, eh? Positive. We'll see.
There.
I would say that's pretty damn close for those bolts.
Overall, I guess the first time through didn't go that great. We ended up working a little bit too late and we ended up pigeon toeing the pans. So when we lined up the heater channels, the bolt holes just got farther and farther out as we got up the pan. It ended up at the A pillar, we were about a ½ inch out. So we just ground them out and moved on with our day. We ended up mocking up the heater channels before we welded in the pans the second time around after we ground them out and everything. We were able to tip them back out, straighten them with the heater channels. We still do have a couple bolts that are out, but at the end of the day, we can make those bolts work, so I'm not too concerned about it, and it's going to work out just fine. Behind me, it is sitting on the pan still. From here, it has to be lifted up. The pan has to be brought back out. I have to finish welding in the pans, and then the whole pan's going to get stripped and go for sandblasting down the road. The front suspension and the rear suspension is going to get stripped and sandblasted and then powder coated for, I'm not quite sure. I really like powder coating and I want this thing to be clean head to toe. I'm that kind of guy, so I'm going to go full out because it's already separated and I'm almost there. Might as well just finish stripping the pan and have it all done nicely. That way when I put it back together, it'll be proper and it will last. So I would say if you're going to attempt this at home, if you're going to attempt this by yourself and at home, this, ladies and gentlemen, is very important. And as you seen earlier on in the video, I started this, but I did not finish it. I mocked up all the parts. Everything looked identical. I said to myself, this should be fairly simple. So I kind of threw this to the side and never really paid attention to it. Now, as we've seen halfway through, yes, some stuff was off alignment. If I had have finished that, I would have had a lot more reference points to look back on and say, okay, something's not right. Had I have taken my time and mocked up the heater channels before I welded it in, then I also would have avoided this issue. So I think the overall lesson here for me is when I'm too tired, just shut her down and go to bed. But all in all, it worked out. It's together. It's good. It's fine. Everything's great. Time to move on. So this has to come off. Like I said, pan out, strip the pan, send it to sandblasting. The other stuff gets sent to powder coat. And then we can start on the body, the fun stuff. So, not quite sure what's going to happen there yet, but the body needs quite a bit of work, and I want it straight and proper before these guys get put back together. So, I am pretty excited to get this car done. So, follow along, subscribe to the page, like the video. Thank you very much for watching it to the end. You guys are awesome. I will see you in the next one.